Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today in one of our business owner interview series. My name is Kyron. I'm with Pinnacle Action Coach, and today it is my pleasure to be interviewing Ivan Thomas with Ivan's Complete Auto Repair. Ivan, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So we like to do these interviews with a lot of local business owners. It's a way for us to get to know you, for the community to get to know you, and just a great way to promote your business. So Ivan, why don't you tell us a little bit about Ivan's auto repair?
So here at Ivan's Complete Auto Repair, we do everything from small brake jobs, oil changes to engine rebuild, transmission rebuild, and swaps. It's something we've been doing for a while. I've been doing for a while. I moved here in Ohio with the business in 2019. And since then, we have just flourished. So right now, things are a little bit difficult with the pandemic going on, but as of this week, we actually started to pick back up in volume and in sales. So things are looking pretty good for us. So far in the area, we have one of the best reputations in the area,
Oh, that's
from
great.
here to pretty much halfway to downtown. So I'm very grateful and appreciative of that. So we try to maintain a good client base, a good customer service for our clients. And that's what we do here. We service our clients before we service their vehicles.
That's great. That's great. And having a great reputation goes a long way, right? It
Mhm.
saves you money on advertising because people do the advertising for you.
Right, right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of car repair stores out there, and
Mhm.
obviously you've found your niche. You've found a way to be competitive in a place where you can go down the street and find an AutoZone or a CarX, right? So describe what your perfect customer looks like.
To me, my perfect customer is someone who comes in, knows there's something wrong, doesn't know exactly what it is, has maybe been a few places to chase this problem down, couldn't figure it out, and bring it to us. And actually, this is just happened to me last night. I was here last night at 8 p.m. diagnosing a vehicle that a BMW lady had taken everywhere and had everything done, but this one little hose we found that was leaking, that I found was leaking, and that caused everything. So those are my type of clients that want someone that's going to be honest, someone that's going to be upfront with them, someone that's not going to beat them over the head with the price, and just someone that they can build a relationship with, and not just be business. But then at that point, there's an intimate relationship there where anything that goes wrong with the vehicle that they know of, they call us, and that's what we're looking for. So that's our client base, just a more personal relationship with our clients.
You said something really key, and I think I can identify, right? A woman going to a car shop, it's intimidating, right?
Mhm.
It's intimidating. And so, um, most people aren't going to be willing to stay past probably when the shop closes. I mean, 8 o'clock is pretty late. Most shops are not even open at that point in time, or take the time to really go through and diagnose, right? It's easier to say, oh, I think it's this and charge for that, or I think it's that and charge for that. So that's really good. I mean, yeah, you're definitely serving that's a great thing that you did. I think that's important for people to know and understand is, that builds trust, and it goes a long way when you could have been doing something else probably
Right.
besides looking at,
Right.
a hose on a car.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So you talked a little bit about, you saw a slowdown during COVID, and now you're starting to see things pick up. During COVID, in order to stay in business and keep your shop going, what did you have to do? What are a couple things you had to do to kind of really pivot with the economy?
So the one thing is I have a policy here that after your vehicle is done, after 5 days, there's a storage fee that accrues beginning the fifth day and every day thereafter. Um, with the pandemic, I have cars still here now because people couldn't afford the repairs.
Oh, wow.
So what I did was I came up with a system, contracted, just an contractual obligation for payment plans. For the most part, it went well. There are some that still owe me money, and you know, we'll take care of that later. But that's what we pretty much did to kind of navigate around was we knew people couldn't afford the repairs they needed. Most people come to us when they've been somewhere else and someone else tells them, Midas tells them, come over here, or CarX tells them, come over here. It's usually things like that, AutoZone, come over here, we can knock it out. And it's usually engine rebuilds, repairs, stuff like that. That's just astronomical in price.
Hmm.
So one thing we came up with was, okay, we can supply 50% of the parts if you could provide the other 50%. And then we'll do a payment plan for the labor. So that's what we did. Then later on, we switched it to we lost a little bit of trust. So then I went, okay, you have to pay 100% of the parts, and then we can do labor and we can do payment plans on the labor after that. And that worked out really well. I still have some now that I do that for. I stopped it as of last week, um, because it's a lot of people are taking advantage of it now because they've heard about it. And
Hmm.
that's the last thing I want is people to take advantage, and then we be far behind on our profit margin because we're not able to collect debts. And I'm not in the debt collecting business, and I don't want to be. So, but that's one thing we did. The other thing we did was we made it very easy for customers to drop off, put their keys in our Dropbox, and there'd be zero communication at all, other than phone talking, but nothing person to person. And still now I'm a little weary about that. I don't do a lot of it now, but I'm trying to kind of roll back into it. But that's been the biggest thing with a lot of my clients being physicians and things like that. It's easier for them to drop their vehicle off at 4 or 5 in the morning and then pick it up at 4 or 5 in the morning the next day. So a lot of them I don't even meet. And so a lot of it is just a lot of it's just a lot of conversation over the phone and email. Hey, sorry, I'm working, but I can come pick the car up at 10 o'clock tonight. So we have a hiding spot outside that's a secure hiding spot that we keep the vehicle, the keys. And the customers call us, and we see them on camera where they are. We tell them where the keys are, and then that's it. So
Oh,
it's been very, very, very feasible. All payments are electronic now. We will take cash. We definitely don't take check, but we will take cash, with some situations. But most everyone is appreciative of the electronic payment system, and it's worked out extremely well.
oh, absolutely. I think the economy is moving cashless anyway. I mean, COVID,
Right.
no COVID, it's just easier to, it's just safer. I mean, it's
It is.
safer to not be carrying a bunch of cash. And that's great. It sounds like you've got some efficiencies in place, and it's probably just going to get bigger and better from there, right? As you can kind of
Agreed.
turn people around. You don't have to spend time maybe with a face-to-face consultation when you can handle something by email or by phone.
Exactly.
Yep. So I know you mentioned like COVID and the impact to your business. You said it slowed down a little bit. Was that your greatest impact, or did you have other impacts as well to your business?
No, COVID was before COVID. I mean, we were doing amazing in sales and everything. So before COVID, we were doing amazing. Once it hit around, we did good around from March to about June, July. After about August, September, things started to go downhill. Um, and then we started. So typically, I don't take a lot of body work in because of the demand and because I have too much going on with engine repair and things like that. So that was something I started back doing after COVID hit to kind of help out with overhead and things like that. And so it was profitable. It helped out a little bit, not as much as it would have when I was just doing engines and things like that. But it certainly did help out. And so that's kind of one thing we did to combat it, and it was beneficial. I'm definitely ready to stop doing it now,
Yeah.
but it was definitely beneficial.
That's good. I mean, it was a way of like pivoting, right? You said, okay,
Right,
well, I'm not getting what I need here, but what, I can do this, and there's still a demand for it. So that's a good thing.
right.
That is a good thing. So your business is picking back up. You've got this surge of business coming in, and I imagine some of your general business practice had to change when things slowed down. But now that you got this surge coming back in, how are you gearing up for that, or what are you putting in place to make sure that when that comes in, you can still maintain the quality and the customer relationship that you had before and now?
The one thing I did immediately, and even the other day, I had a meeting with a lot of my sales accounts for my aftermarket parts and dealerships, and there is such a huge the list for back orders at just the local dealership is 15 to 20 pages long, and so the biggest problem is part availability. And so I had a conversation with a couple of them to put out a request to other suppliers and manufacturers around the country to be able to bring in other parts that we can't get from the dealership, because sometimes if you have some vehicles that you can only get a certain part from the dealership. And when that happens, then you have to wait until it becomes back available in stock. So I've been waiting on certain parts since December. Um, and it's even insurance, and that's an insurance. One of them is an insurance job. And I spoke with the general manager, the area sales manager yesterday, and he was just in awe because he said he did everything he could to find a couple of the parts and he could not locate them anywhere. So one thing we've been trying to do is get in contact with other suppliers that have OE quality parts, because you can get parts, but they're not going to be good parts. And then you have an issue because the car's coming back a week later, a year later, however long later, but it's due to the defective part. And that's not something I like to risk. It's just not a risk I'm willing to take at this point in my business. Now that we're getting up there, with some of the bigger guys, I don't want to be that small shop that got all the way up here and came back down because of the use and the quality of our parts. So that's one thing we're striving towards. The other thing is I lost one employee during this, and I realized that I started this business on my own. I got it to the point to where it was on my own. It's two of us now, and to be honest, I can run it alone again if I needed to. I choose not to because I want freedom. So the thing now is to kind of reevaluate, where we are in the marketplace as a repair facility when things like this happen, because it will happen again eventually. How can we navigate around where it won't affect us as much?
Mhm.
So that's kind of the biggest thing. As far as parts, that's kind of out of our hand.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can kind of control the volume of things that come in and kind of keep things ordered in that we use frequently and things of that nature. So that's one thing that will help us. And we started to do that as of 2 weeks ago. And so we're just trying to take our time and see where we are and scale things down to kind of make it realistic for us financially as well.
Yeah. How long have you guys been in business, or have you been in business since
I've been in business since 2015.
2015?
So I started off, I had a shop over off of Cincinnati, Columbus, right by Smythe Automotive off of Cincinnati, Columbus. I started there, then I went to Kentucky, did it there, then I came back here in 2019.
Okay.
And so
Big move from all the way up there down to Kentucky and back.
and then back. So it was worth it. I was living there, so the commute from here to there was an hour every day, one way. And it got to the point where I would leave home at 5 in the morning, get here around 6:15, wouldn't leave here till 8 or 9 at night. It became way too much.
Yeah.
Decided to get a place here where it was more feasible, more doable for me.
Hmm. So what's been the biggest thing you've learned as a business owner?
That I don't need help. That's been the biggest thing, honestly, because when you ask, anytime you ask, there's always an expectation of more, 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 no matter what field it is. Even though my guys get paid flat rate, which in this business is the best way to get paid, because my guy, like my one guy that I have now, um, worked for Dodge Jeep Chrysler, retired from there. So he's been doing this 30 years. And the one thing I've learned is if I pay you hourly and you make $40 and you make 40 hours a week, you're capped at that.
Hmm.
I pay you flat rate. Let's say I pay you, there's a job that calls for 8 hours. You do it in 5 hours. You get paid for 5 hours. You get paid for 8 hours of work, but it only took you 5 hours. So then I always talk to them about time management. So once you get that 8 hour job done in 5 hours, you have more work that can be done
Hmm.
that in a 10-hour workday, you could have billed 20 hours. So we do it by billable hours, flat rate billable hours.
Hmm.
And that's one thing that's worked really well, especially during the pandemic, because we had work coming in. And so I set it to where my guy would come in, certain days of the week where I would set work aside for him to do on those days. That way he had billable hours coming in, but he didn't have to be here 6 days a week.
Hmm.
And so we did everything to appointment only. We don't do any drop bys, some people come by and we call. I have to tell them, give me a call. We can set up an appointment. Unfortunately, I can't do a drop off. You can drop it off, but I can't get to it until tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. But we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. But the main thing is that if I had to do it alone, I could definitely do it alone. I wouldn't want to, but I could definitely.
Yeah. Like, gosh, it comes a point, like you said, I own my own business as well. And, we do this because we want a certain level of freedom in our life, right? We want the money to come in, and hopefully it's something that you enjoy, and
Mhm.
you have the freedom, right? So like I have the freedom to still work with Pinnacle while, my business runs itself.
Exactly,
it's very,
exactly.
it's very
That's how it
strategic
should be.
about
That's
that.
how it should be.
Yes. So, do you have, well, I guess before I ask if you have any offers, just in the things that I've heard, right? And tell me if I'm wrong. Do you service mainly engine and luxury vehicles? Like, I'm only saying that because I hear the clientele are a lot of doctors or people, the BMW, right? So help me understand if there is a particular niche of vehicle and customer that you prefer to work on, or that you usually find work better for your shop.
We've serviced everything from, I mean, I've serviced everything from 44 Fords to 2019 Ford, 2020 Genesis, Hyundai, everything. My favorite, however, will be European. Um, I started off doing older cars, Bel Airs and things like that back when I was younger. I still do some of that. I still do restoration jobs, but my favorite is absolutely European.
And I think
I
there's
don't know why. They're so easy for me to diagnose. BMW and Mercedes and things like that, they're very easy for me to work on and diagnose because I'm a very technical person. So sometimes, I actually told a customer the other day that what's easy for me to diagnose may not be easy for the next guy, because I had a customer who came to me. We did some work in September, and then she wanted a second opinion on some other things and went somewhere else, and they told her that she didn't need what I told her she needed, and she got it done. And then she came back to me last week and needed the engine because she didn't do what I told her she needed. And so it's things like that that sometimes you can't, there aren't going to always be codes when you hook up a computer.
yeah.
Sometimes it's good to have that knowledge to be able to go in depth to actually do an actual, what we call a diagnosis.
Hmm.
And so diagnosis doesn't just mean hook up a computer. If there are no codes, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
You have to be able to go a couple steps further to kind of rule out and verify some things. So diagnosing is definitely my favorite thing to do, no matter what kind of car it's on. But to work on it would probably be European, definitely.
And I feel like and just from what I've seen in my time here in Cincinnati, I feel like there's not a whole lot of European specialty auto repair
There's
places.
a couple. I have a good buddy of mine and a couple of friends. Foreign Exchange in Westchester. I
I've
do a
seen
lot
that
of.
one. Yep.
Yeah, they're really good. And that's all they do is foreign. Now
Okay.
they will do other things. They can do it all. They will do other things, but they prefer to do foreign. And so they're really, so if I'm backed up, and I have a BMW, something that comes in, if I'm backed up and it needs a quick job or something, I'll send it to them.
Hmm.
So I use them for certain things. Very random, very seldomly do I have to do that. But if in case and chance that I do get backed up, that's who I send it to.
Got it.
But there's not a huge demand for foreign vehicles here. So that's why when I came here, I switched back to foreign and domestic.
Hmm.
There's a lot of domestic in this area. And most of the engines all of the engines that I've done since I've been here, um, not all, but most of them have been GM actually, Chevrolet or GM or Buick.
Hmm. Debating if I should say maybe I shouldn't buy this.
Uh, they have engine issues. That's all I'll say. I have one here. I have two here that need engines. So that's them.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so offers, do you have any offers that you want to share with anyone who watches this video?
So right now we are doing a 15% off. And what we do is we do a referral program as well.
Hmm.
So if you were to refer someone, there's a 10% off on that as well. Sometimes when people come in, depending on contingent upon what it is, we'll do a waive of the diagnosis fee. That's not something that we do all the time. It's like I said, contingent upon what it is. You can come in and you think, oh, I need brakes. We'll look at it for free and tell you what it is.
Hmm.
So we'll put the diagnosis on there. We just discount it 100%. Other than that, we do have the 15% off that we have on all promos right now until February 28th. And that's something that we are advertising, and it's working good for us right now.
Perfect. Perfect. And then just kind of the last thing I wanted to ask you, what's the most inspiring thing to you right now or today?
Most inspiring thing to me is definitely my son, my 2-year-old.
Hmm.
I actually started this again. I was working in corporate America until right before he was born, and then I decided, well, I want to leave a legacy for my son.
Hmm.
So that's when I decided to do this again full time, and it's been amazing. So he comes in, he's only 2. He just turned 2 in January, so he'll come in and walk around and look around and, oh, car, that car, and it's the most inspiring thing to me since that I can ever think of. Because every day when I come in here at night, 9, 10 o'clock at night, it's because I want to leave a legacy for my son. I want him to be able to have freedom and say, well, I own my own business that was handed down to me from my father. And
Yep.
so that's what I want from him is my goal here is to build generational wealth. And it's not a lot of things. It's not, you don't see it a lot in our community. And not just African American, but you don't see it a lot in minority community,
Mhm.
mainly African American. So that was my biggest goal, was to create something that my family and my children's children can live off of for the rest of their lives. And so far, I'm doing great at it.
That's
A
awesome.
long way to go, but we're taking big strides.
That is awesome. Okay, well, that pretty much concludes kind of our conversation for today. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I keep looking up at my camera. I keep seeing people outside.
I know